I didn't have anything.
Matt had no filler. No filler
filler.
this week. You freaks will be excited to find that Matt and I are drinking the same drink today. I have a little Coronitas.
Isn't it just Corona?
Yeah, but it's like a 7-ounce guy.
Oh, I like the little ones.
Makes me look like Andre the Giant. What a week. You got the fresh cut. Week 2 of the fresh cut. I have a haircut scheduled for tomorrow at 11:30 a.m. Not that anybody needs to know that, but I'm looking forward to it. I desperately need a haircut. I'm bad with the haircut schedules. I usually wait like 6 months. I'm like, all right, it's time.
Yeah, I just get lazy about it, to be honest.
Same.
It feels so good once you do it, but I just get really lazy about it.
Yeah, every time I do it, I'm like, I'm going to do this once a month from here on out. And 6 months later, it's like, you know what? It's time to get a haircut. And so tomorrow at about 12:15 Eastern, I'm going to be like, all right, I'm going to get a haircut a month from now. And that haircut probably won't come to fruition. Matt, you're just describing how you feel like the atmosphere on Twitter is reminiscent of April 2020. Things are getting catty out there.
It's just all so divisive. There's so much fighting.
Yeah.
It's exhausting.
I know.
I just want to tune out. But then at the same time, we have a weekly news show that we've been running for almost 3 years now. So I'm like kind of locked in.
Dude, what is it? August 12th? Next week, maybe our 3-year anniversary, the week after. We started at the end of August, early September, didn't we?
We're usually horrible about anniversaries, so usually a freak reminds us through a shout out.
If any freaks remember the day, I'm sure we could find this out pretty trivially by going to a podcast app, but it is coming up on our 3-year anniversary. It's hard to believe. These years fly by, man. Time flies when you're having fun.
Cheers, brother. Cheers, freaks.
Cheers to you guys. We're just here memeing a new global reserve currency into existence. We're doing this together. We couldn't do it without you freaks. So thank you for showing up. And speaking of showing up, how do we start the show? We started with Clark's dashboard, which is currently telling me that the price of Bitcoin is $44,470. One $1 going to get you 2,249 sats. The current market cap of Bitcoin is $835.3 billion. So it seems like we've broken out of that consolidation. We touched 46 earlier this week. We're out of that $30,000 to $40,000 price range. We don't
no predictions from Matt.
No predictions. 200K by conference day, BitBlock Boom. And
by BitBlock Boom?
Yeah. We're only 31.5% off the all-time high, which according to Clark's dashboard is $64,840. Gold fell this week. So we haven't mentioned this stat in a while, but one Bitcoin will get 25.3 ounces of gold, and the Bitcoin versus gold market cap is at 7.29%, which is pretty high. Speaking of high, we're at the highest block height of all time high block height right here at 695,460, nice and even. 89.45% of every Bitcoin that will ever be distributed to the network, has been distributed to the network. And guess what, Matt? You're going to be happy. Hash rate has joined the network. We're 60 blocks away from the next retarget, which is scheduled to be at some point early in the morning, East Coast time, tomorrow. August 13th, 2021, and we're expected to have a 7.4% upward adjustment, and that is because
pretty safe to assume at this point that we were the worst case scenario of a state attack from China is completely out the window.
Out the window? Completely out the window?
I think so.
Yeah. All right. You heard it here first from Matt Odell. I'm not gonna
another horrible prediction. I don't fucking know. I don't want to jinx it. But yeah, this is exactly what you'd want to see, right?
Yeah. This would be.
And you're seeing it on the ground, right? I'm hearing all these reports on the ground that there's a lot of hash being plugged in America.
We plugged in about 30, more than that, about 40 petahash this week alone at Great American Mining. 3 containers went live in North Dakota. Teased that a little bit on our Twitter page. I was telling you, Matt, before, I can't get into too many specifics now, but it's a really great story with this particular producer that we're helping mitigate flare. Makes me proud to be part of the Great American Mining team. We helped a producer in need, and we're able to mine Bitcoin profitably while helping the environment, or be better stewards of the environment, reduce energy waste, be more energy efficient.
I just I think it's hilarious that like what gold dropped like 5% on Sunday,
Yeah.
and like Bitcoin Twitter just like completely stopped what they were doing and they just started shitting on gold. Like, okay, guys.
Hey, Bitcoin Twitter. Just be nice to the gold bugs. We want them. Philosophically, we're aligned probably like 90%.
Nah, fuck the gold bugs.
Yeah.
Gold's
Okay.
a shitcoin.
Okay. Breaking news. Michael Karras, the Bitcoin rabbi, is tweeting about us. Breaking news: Odell and Marty and Matt paid for haircuts, so we're short Bitcoin.
It's true.
Yeah. How do you know I was going to pay for my haircut? I was going to.
You said you had an appointment.
Yeah, well, my cousin down the block. He's got clippers. He's going to hack me up. Currently, Clark's dashboard, there are 2,299 transactions in his mempool. The mempools are basically empty. Send your 1 sat per byte transactions, freaks.
But I mean, hash is going up so fast. So
yes, that's a good point.
It was more worrisome when hash was going down and the mempools are still empty, but still.
Which is like an interesting theory that was brought up during that period, post migration news. A theory that was floated, but I haven't seen being talked about much since I first saw it. Was maybe Chinese mining pools were spoofing transactions to increase.
Yeah. It's something I believe. They were also, I think they were strategically pulling hash. Remember all those big hash pulls that were happening?
Yeah. I would like to see if there's any research that could be.
I think we were being fucked with, and now we're all Catan, and I'm never going to pay over 1 sat per byte ever again.
Never say never. I think we've learned that lesson here.
So it's time for a Bieber quote.
Is that a Bieber quote?
I think it's his song, isn't it?
I don't know. I haven't listened to much Bieber recently. I heard he's on a nice virtuous path though these days. I'm happy to see it. He's happily married, trying to be a good man. I like to see that, Justin. Samurai Whirlpool unspent capacity above 4K at 4,029.93 Bitcoin. That's 179.2 million cuck bucks worth of liquidity. So it's approaching 200 million cuck bucks pretty quickly. Blew past 3,000. I feel like we were only there for 4 or 5 episodes.
Yeah, number go up.
Number go way up. Flame Wars still going on. Saw some more Flame Wars this week.
Did not participate.
Yeah, I noticed that too. I'm very proud of you. That's.
I'm exhausted.
They're exhausting. Again, I will just reiterate this for everybody engaged in the Flame Wars. It just makes everybody confused, and maybe unspent capacity Whirlpool would say otherwise, but it turns people away. They don't want to use either. But hey, no matter what I say, the Flame Wars are going to continue. No matter what I say. Where should we start, Matthew? Infrastructure bill?
I guess. Yeah, infrastructure bill seems to be, that was the news of the week, right? It was the news. Everyone called their senators, supposedly, but didn't do shit.
Didn't do shit. All right, let's get into it. Heavy topic. So we had Senator Shelby from Alabama, who's on his way out, going to retire at the end of his term. He's got a replacement behind him, and he basically cucked the whole amendment. I don't even know what. I think it was the Lummis Warner.
There was just no voting on any amendments, whether Bitcoin related or otherwise. Period.
Yes, because Shelby was pissed that there wasn't $50 billion in military spending that he wanted included in an amendment that he pushed forward.
Well, supposedly, but also his largest donors are banks.
Citibank, and others. And so let's get into this. I mean,
let's get into it, Marty.
We touched on it briefly last week, but like Janet Yellen, the Treasury, like that's like the Treasury is the one who wrote the language, many are saying, for the particular provision that is going to affect Bitcoin and the overall cryptocurrency landscape, which is highlighted an interesting debate that I think should be dragged out into the public and into the mainstream media, though it probably never will be. Like, what the hell is the Treasury doing writing language or suggesting language for a bill that's supposed to be voted on by members of Congress and the Senate, and the Treasury is unelected and should have no say or influence on the wording of this particular provision, or any bill for that matter. What does that say? Do we live in, is this,
Don't do it, Marty.
are we free? Do we have a representative democracy? Is a representative democracy even?
Is this a free country? Are we even in a free country?
I mean, no. There's a spectrum.
There's a lot of worse countries to be in.
Yeah, there are, but
there's just all corrupt. The whole thing is just super corrupt. And, you know, the industry players in the Bitcoin and I guess the wider crypto industry, I just don't, you know.
Well, that's,
I guess I think people kind of expected that they would embrace the corruption more. But
what do you mean? What do you mean? Like lobby harder with money?
It's just like all the politicians are just getting paid off one way or the other, right? And what happened to the meme? Like, we're going to buy our politicians. We have three, you know, great senators and representatives, Congress people, but they're like not bought off. They're just ideological, which is great. Like, it's good to have ideological supporters.
Certainly is. But yeah.
It was 2,700 pages of corruption. They didn't even vote on any amendments.
So that's
they barely read it, and they still had some changes, and they didn't even vote on them.
Well, that's, again, before we hit record, we talked about this. Like, I was a little, I don't want to say angry at myself, but I felt annoyed that I had to cover the infrastructure bill in the Bents like 3 to 5 times over the last 10 issues, which is something I try to avoid, not to be repetitive on a particular topic in a short amount of time. But it's just like it kept unraveling, and I kept thinking about it, and especially thinking about it in the context of the reaction from like Bitcoiners and Bitcoin lobbyists in DC. Like, why are we like, it's the whole infrastructure bill outside of the, like, with the Bitcoin provision included, it's just complete bullshit. Like, why are we even?
And like from the beginning, it was like, oh, this is like the best we're gonna get. You know, it's not even. And I've been on Twitter. I've been trying to. I think like a really good analogy is gun ownership in America.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, the NRA, whether you love them or hate them, they have a hard line, right? They have a super hard line. They're like, we're not going to negotiate. These are certain things that we're just not going to negotiate. Specifically, a national registry of firearms and of gun owners, lists of gun owners. But meanwhile, in the wider crypto industry specifically, but also permeating through the Bitcoin industry, there's like this insidious thought that, oh, we can just appease the regulators and our bottom lines will go up and the price will go up and our revenues will go up. And it's just hollowing out everything that I think Bitcoin stands for. It's, you know, there should, at some point, you know, you have to draw the line. You have to be like, no.
Yeah, I'm not going to wrestle with pigs. I don't want to get dirty. I don't want to get like all this shit on me. Like, it's just wrestling with pigs, and like the amount of, and I want to say, I mean, I had a Twitter thread, and basically there was a lot of condescension from the lawyers on Capitol Hill that were like going to protect and lobby on behalf of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency toward individuals like the plebs, if you will, saying like, just scrap it, like don't even like play this game, like it's stupid to negotiate with these people, they're corrupt and they're not even writing these laws, it's written by lobbyists, like don't play that game. And like the condescension coming from the Coin Center team particularly, it was like, are you kidding me? Like it was like, oh, you guys don't even know. You don't even know. It's like, no, we do know. This whole game is fucking corrupt. Like, don't play it. And part of that thread, the back half of that thread, and again, so it's like a difference of what many Bitcoiners think is the best strategy to attempt to get quote unquote regulators or state entities on our side. And I don't think
regulatory clarity.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to get that by trying to push things through the House and the Senate. I think, again, I've been saying this and beating this drum pretty hard for the last year. Focus on states, focus on getting states to get skin in the Bitcoin game, particularly via putting Bitcoin on their state treasuries or getting skin in the game by investing in mining infrastructure and using their natural resources to produce revenues denominated in Bitcoin that can be rolled into something like a permanent fund. Like, I think, me personally, I think that's a better and more, it's a strategy that has a higher likelihood of being successful and getting these types of people on Bitcoin side.
Well, look, I'm fine with a lot of different strategies happening, even if I had no intention of calling, Senator Schumer uh, to voice my support for proper Bitcoin regulation. I mean, they're requiring papers to go eat dinner. I don't think they're going to have sane policies in terms of Bitcoin. But at the same time, I respect the fact that there's a lot of different Bitcoiners working on different strategies for how they think, can best help. And there was a lot of friendly fire that was happening in general on both sides, which you just kind of hate to see,
Yeah,
especially as we're
I
getting
want to
stamped on.
I want to make it clear, like, I'm not saying that anybody's efforts are like foolish or anything like that. I just think like the condescending tone towards people who are saying maybe this isn't the best strategy was a little off-putting.
I mean, strictly speaking, I think the best strategy is taking sovereignty over your Bitcoin usage and
Yes.
using it with privacy best practices and running your own node and using your own node and avoiding KYC as much as possible. Um, I think that's practical. I think that has practical change instead of expecting our corrupt political system to like, this is not new. They pass horrible regulations on all sorts of industries and things. We just have a front row seat for this because we're Bitcoiners.
Well, in this whole ordeal, I think I might have said it last week, but I'm not afraid to repeat it now. Just having flashbacks to what radicalized me as a 17-year-old was sitting in my elective economics class as a senior in high school and reading through the TARP bill. It's like the exact same type of, not the exact same type of situation, but a very similar situation in which you have this omnibus bill that is marketed by DC as something that is completely essential to getting passed for the survival of the American economy. TARP, it was to save the banks and buy those toxic assets. And with this infrastructure bill, it's to save the economy, to get jobs out there and to help begin greening our economy, which is another thing. I mean, we read some of the provisions in the bill last week. Like, they're doing studies to begin figuring out ways on how to tax people per mile driven on the road, which is insane. They literally want to tax your movement in cars that you own. So it's all fucked at that level. Like, again, lobbyists are writing this. They don't even like pretend like they actually care about the American people or doing things in their benefit. They think, like, again, like we said last week, there's no possible way they could have read those 2,700 pages in the time allotted.
How many of them do you think have sent a Bitcoin transaction?
Zero. I mean, whoa. I mean, this is
They haven't even tried buying Bitcoin on Robinhood. They haven't even tried custodial cuck Bitcoin.
Yeah, they haven't even read like a shitcoin wave yet. Like, they're not even trying to tell you that Cardano is better than Bitcoin yet. They're not even at that level, that basic level. And highlights another point is like Ted Cruz, the only one speaking sense throughout this whole thing as it pertains to the provision on cryptocurrency. He said exactly what you said. There's probably less than 5 people who actually understand.
He admitted, he's like, I don't even understand it.
Right?
He's like, we shouldn't be regulating something we don't even understand. I don't understand it. Who else understands it here?
Yeah. I think the whole ordeal highlights what you just mentioned is what's going to be more effective: calling your senator and begging them to get the lobbyists that wrote the provision to change it, or plugging in a node, running a node, using a node, acquiring sats, putting them in a wallet you control, trying to get them via avenues that don't KYC AML data collect on you.
And if you want to do the politics thing, once again, we should take part of the NRA playbook. It should all be constitutional. You know, First and Fourth Amendment. Those are our amendments. The gun owners have the Second Amendment. We have the First and the Fourth.
Yes.
And that's where the fight should be. If you want to do it politically, in my opinion, just a guy's opinion. But yeah, I mean, the whole thing kind of just, it was all framed as like make or break, and then it broke. and then Bitcoin's still ticking along. All these things aren't supposed to go into effect until 2023. If that, right? And I mean, this is, I expected much worse than this, much sooner than this, but the expectation has been here the whole time. Like the governments are not just going to sit by and let, freedom money erode their power without some sort of fight. And that's what we need to be prepared for.
Completely agreed. And I know you don't like when I get bombastic like this, but the time for civil disobedience is nigh. Like if this stuff goes live in 2023,
it's a while.
I don't want to speak on behalf of the Great American Mining, my coworkers, founders.
It's horrible for miners.
Yeah, exactly. But like, fuck you. I'm not unplugging this shit. Like we're helping reduce methane emissions and we're paying our taxes. Like get the fuck out of here. It's literally logistically impossible. Literally to KYC or hand out 1099s to people transacting in a block that you mine. And then you get into like the nuance of it. Like, all right, how does this work? Is it only a block that literally one of the miners that I own in the containers that finds the hash that enables them to build a block, or enables Slush Pool to build a block and broadcast it to the network? Is that the only time I have to share this information and hand out 1099s? Is the onus on these mining pools, most of which are domiciled outside of the US? Like, how does it, it's not even enforceable. It's like Elaine Yu's adage, like these regulations are too dumb to enforce. Like, so you're just young, like it's impossible to abide by them. And at that point, you have the decision. All right, if you can't do it, do you just unplug and go somewhere else, or you just say, fuck you, this is just completely dumb. I'm going to keep doing this because I know it's right. I know it's virtuous. I know it's just. I'm not doing anything illegal. You made it illegal and you don't even understand what it is. Fuck you. Like, you're fucking 80 years old and you're trying to regulate a 12-year-old technology that is the most groundbreaking technology that humanity possibly has ever come into contact with. And you're going to try and kill it in the womb here in the United States of America, where we're supposed to be fucking free. Fuck you. No, I'm not unplugging shit.
Cheers to that. Did the actual bill actually get passed yet?
No, I don't even think it gets like, that's the other thing. Like, is it all just like, are we getting played? We're getting played by the puppets and the masters behind them. That was the interesting thing. Like the fucking price rallied like immediately after it became apparent that the amendment wasn't getting fixed, or none amendments were going through and the original provision was going through as written. I think, what do you think that was? Do you think that was market seeing the pushback from the industry and the amount of individual?
I think sellers were exhausted because anyone who was a bear got extra bearish because of the infrastructure bill. Mm-hmm. And traders took advantage of that and pushed the price up.
Well, short squeeze.
Yeah, it's like classic Bitcoin. And there's also probably like a bunch of cucks who are like, oh, regulatory clarity. There's like people who think it's a good thing that own Bitcoin. So
because people are very short-sighted, I would say. And speaking of bills, staying on this, Buyer, what's his fucking name, from the House of Representatives,
Virginia, Democrat from Virginia,
Democratic representative from Virginia has proposed a bill, digital asset securities under the federal securities law. I'm trying to read bills right now. It's just worse than release note. But essentially, what would this bill do specifically again?
So the big thing for
Coin joins out the window.
No. So first of all, the big thing is for the shitcoiners. They go after stable coins in the bill.
Yes, they're going to have to
so stable coins that are not approved by the Treasury, I think it's the Treasury, aren't allowed. And it also sets the groundwork for being able for the central bank to issue their own CBDCB. But then on the Bitcoin side, there's a provision in there for KYC regulated exchanges to track people that are using money mules. They call it money mules. This is their terminology. Also, a beautiful part of the bill is all of these definitions are defined by the Treasury Department. Money mules, which I assume is like a professional money launderer, or like that's what it's meant to be. If you look it up on like Wikipedia, that's what it says. Users of anonymity services, which to me reads more like mixing services, custodial mixing services, which have been a major target to begin with. CoinJoin isn't a service. CoinJoin is a Bitcoin send transaction with privacy best practices. But I'm not saying the Treasury Department isn't going to say that CoinJoin falls under there. They can say whatever the fuck they want. And then the third thing was, what do they call it? An anonymity enhanced virtual currencies, which they mean like privacy coins, primarily Monero.
In this section, the term virtual currency anonymizing service, money mule, and anonymity enhanced convertible virtual currency.
Right. And those definitions are set by the Treasury Department. And I guess if a regulated service sees that you're using any of those three, they're supposed to track you, record you, share your shit, and deny you future service in this proposed bill, which is not being voted on or anything yet. It's just a proposed bill. But this is what we should expect. I mean, this is just going to happen more and more. And what's the expectation I have is that ultimately, basically, private Bitcoin ownership and usage will be de facto criminalized. And that's always been the fear.
It's always been the assumption, though, right?
But like, what's the alternative? You're gonna just sit there with like your cuck version of Bitcoin? Like, that's a ridiculous. I don't understand. I don't understand the Bitcoiners that are just cool with that. And like I guess you're like technically holding your keys.
Name
like,
names. Who are these people? You don't have to name names. I don't want to put you on the spot.
There's a lot of Bitcoiners that feel that way. They know who they are.
It's infuriating, number one. But it should be expected. Don't get triggered. I'm going to take a Matt Odell adage here. Just don't get triggered. If you get triggered, you're weak. I'm not going to be weak here.
But see, like, this is a perfect example. Like, there's a lot of anger at Coin Center over this last week about getting, caught off guard with the infrastructure bill. But like, there's no doubt in my mind that they're reading this Bayer bill right now and they're just mounting a full-on defense against it.
Agreed.
And like, it might be futile because our system is completely corrupt, but I have no doubt they're going to try. And I'm glad they're trying.
I am too.
But I also have no expectations of them being successful, at least long term. Long term, this is all just, buying us time, delaying the inevitable.
Yes. It shouldn't be condescending. That was really off-putting.
Agreed.
But we're at a juncture, freaks. What are we going to do? Are we going to stand up and fight? Like, plug in your nodes, get your UTXOs into your possession, use these services, use Bitcoin the way it was meant to be used, and we need to start being civilly disobedient. Like, the time calls for it. Said it in a tweet yesterday. rebellion to tyranny is obedience to God. And I know everybody who hates God out there is like, oh, God doesn't exist. But it's like, it's obedience to what is virtuous. Like we rebelling against a tyrannical system, which we could argue the whole global government landscape run by the UN, the G8, G7, whatever it is now, and the think tanks like the World Economic Forum is abjectively
a Coindesk partner company.
What partner company?
World
Coindesk partner. Yes, Coindesk partner. And Coin Center. Is it Coin Center having them at the dinner? Like,
I don't think so. Are they having the WEF there?
I don't know. I hope not. But honestly, like, these systems are tyrannical. The last year and a half hasn't proven that to you. Like, you need to wake the fuck up and understand. And they're getting to the point where they want to completely cuck Bitcoin and force you into the central bank digital cuck buck that they want you to use, where they'll have complete control. They'll be able to see every transaction you make. They'll be able to stop you from making transactions. They'll be able to airdrop money into your account. They'll be able to take money out of your account. They'll be able to prevent you from spending in certain places. They'll be able to say you can only spend here. This is what they want for you. And they are beginning to launch their attack on Bitcoin. It began, I would say, many years ago. I went through it earlier this week. I wrote something in June of 2019 on FATF and the guidelines that they started writing for virtual asset service providers. I think that's when the war started, when they started making guidelines for this stuff.
The first shot to me was a bit license.
That's good. We can go back to 2014.
The bit license was like 2014, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. And they're trying to do bit license at the national scale now. Like, at what point do we stand up and just say, fuck this tyranny? Like, that's all it takes. It's like these like, we need to embolden more individuals out there who believe in Bitcoin and the freedom enabling properties that it provides individuals in the world at large to stand up and say, no, this is right. This is virtuous. This makes humanity better off, and you will not ruin it for the rest of us, you old, out of touch, corrupt puppets. Get the fuck out of the way. Get out of the fucking way. You go die, please. I'm not saying be murdered, be killed. Just die. Just go lay in your bed, close your eyes. It's been a good life. Leave us the fuck alone. There's been a large number of potential malicious Bitcoin nodes graphing the network since July 21st this year. I'm sorry. Did you have anything to add to the end of that?
No.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry for another go die rant, but that's how I feel. Like, just leave us the fuck alone, you guys. Term limits or something. Your career needs to die. Maybe that's the more palatable thing to say.
Yeah, like maybe like be less corrupt.
Please, yeah, try. Could you try to be less corrupt? Is it possible? I don't think so at this point. The only way out is civil disobedience and taking what is ours.
I mean, that was never actually going to happen.
Yeah, asserting our rights and it's not waiting for permission. Hey, please, sir, can I send a peer-to-peer transaction to Matthew? Can you let me do that without having to send him a 1099? Please, sir, please. No, just do it. The P2P network enables it. Tell them to fuck off. Just keep hashing, keep sending transactions, keep coin joining. That's the only way out of this. The only way out of the COVID restrictions and lockdowns, too, is to disobey there. I'm not going to get into that, though, because it triggers too many people. Too many pussies. There's been a paper out by Matthias Grundmann and Max Baumstark that basically highlights the fact that July of this year, basically last month, there was a spam of IP addresses that did not belong to actual Bitcoin peers. I'm just going to read the abstract. They found that the behavior of the spamming peers can be used to determine the number of neighbors of public peers and to find civil peers, in parentheses, peers that have multiple addresses. They evaluated the method by running an analysis based on data collected in their monitor nodes and compared that data to the ground truth based on a few peers that they run themselves. The node degree of public peers is found with high precision, and civil peers are correctly classified with very high precision and high recall. if the spamming peers in the monitor are connected to all Sybil addresses.
Basically, it seems like there's a bunch of nodes that are just spamming the network to figure out where all the other nodes are located.
Exactly.
Specifically, if they're running on ClearNet without Tor.
Yeah, so they call this like a graphing attack, where they're trying to graph the topology of the node network specifically. So, is it good or bad?
I mean, first of all, we should expect attacks.
I know,
but it's an attack, is what it is.
But I think there's a silver lining here. It's good in the fact that we're recognizing it, right? We're able to, a month after.
It's been happening for a while now.
Has it?
Yeah, when I read it last week. I skimmed through it last week.
An unknown party distributed a huge amount of spam IP addresses in the Bitcoin P2P network during July of 2021. So that was last month.
No, it definitely has been happening already for a while.
Okay.
I don't feel like looking it up right now. Because there was a post on the Bitcoin mailing list along this similar vein a couple months ago, I believe. I know there's like a researcher from Visa Crypto who noticed something similar a couple months ago as well.
Okay.
But this is one of the reasons, why you should be using Tor when you run your node, and you should be using it on onion only, which is fortunately what most of these, node in the box implementations are doing anyway. They're defaulting to Tor. Of course, then I'm sure there's malicious entities mapping out all Tor nodes. Well, they still know you're running Tor, and the Bitcoin traffic running through Tor is probably, I don't know. I'm not a network specialist, but I imagine you can see some trends, especially for 24/7 nodes, to kind of determine that they're running Bitcoin because there's so much data.
Mm-hmm.
But
does Lightning Network help here?
Foolproof. What?
Does Lightning Network help here? By incentivizing people to run exit nodes, so it's less CIA.
Not really.
No.
I don't know. The number one defense we have is we don't want it to be illegal in most places of the world to run a Bitcoin node, right? Because especially as the chain gets larger, as usage is higher and mempools presumably fill, I don't even know if that'll happen anymore. It's going to use a lot of data. Now, what does help in the short term, if you're in like a malicious area, is something like Blockstream Satellite.
Oh yeah,
where that's passive. You're not actually pulling down any data. And then for broadcast, you could use Tor. And that, if you do that right, it's it's pretty undetectable. But yeah, I mean, we have to operate under the assumption that there are people mapping ClearNet nodes specifically, I think.
Yeah, they're trying to. Let me I'm going to the paper now to see how far.
True, and we do have I2P support now too, so Tor isn't your only option. Although there aren't that many I2P nodes, but you got to start somewhere. So go do that. Run an I2P node.
Do that. Yeah, this particular attack only happened last month. Like not only last month, but like 3 weeks ago, July 22nd. I'm not seeing anything about past attacks as I'm reading this. I only read the abstract and the conclusion, like a true researcher. Before
we're doing it live.
Yeah, it's only a 5-page paper.
I don't know. I'd like someone smarter than us to hopefully cover this in the future, and if they do, then we will bring it back up.
I feel like we need Gleb to explain this to us. I think Gleb would have, or Matt Corallo would have some good insight into this. We have, speaking of I2P, this makes me think of I2P because he was a big advocate of it. I'm just going to skip to this story. Compass Mining has provided an $80,000 grant to John Attack. Shout out to Compass Mining. Disclaimer, sponsor of the pod and the newsletter. But this is great to see. Compass has come hot on the scene, and they're already here contributing to Bitcoin Core development, and this is a $80,000 donation they're doing through the Human Rights Foundation, another friend of the pod. So good people teaming up to give good people.
Love to see it. I'm John. John is a real one. He's fantastic. He's doing great work, and I'm glad that this is the second grant he's received, I believe.
It's well deserved, and we've talked about John's contributions before on this podcast, but it never hurts to reiterate. John does some of the grueling, dirty work on the review side of things and helping to coordinate review that is not glamorous. It's not fun. It's not what a lot of developers want to do, but it's very necessary work and work that ensures that Bitcoin is as robust and resilient and secure as possible. Testing, reviewing, and making sure that the code that gets merged into Core specifically, that implementation of Bitcoin is user ready and user friendly, and not gonna hopefully not gonna include any bugs that mess up consensus or anybody's experience as they use Bitcoin. So again, shout out to Compass, shout out to Human Rights Foundation, shout out to John Attack, fellow Bitcoin surfer.
Cheers, John. Well deserved.
Very well deserved.
I think you're right. This specific attack was July only. So yeah, it's good that it got caught pretty quick.
Yeah, right? That's what I was like, oh shit, you already wrote a fucking research paper on this 3 weeks after the attack. So shout out to the researchers who wrote that paper too. We'll say their names again as I pull this up. Matthias Grunman and Max Baumstark. I wonder if they're German or Norwegian. Yeah. BitMEX. Oh, this is big. I forgot about this. BitMEX paid $100 million settlement with the CFTC and FinCEN. I guess they settled out of court. Is our boy Arthur free?
I don't think so. I think this is like the first step, but the exchange now is a fully regulated derivatives exchange compliant with US law and all KYC AML policies.
Yes, BitMEX has been cucked.
On a long enough timeline, everyone bends the knee.
Yes. Binance. You've been hearing the Binance theories? You've been talking?
What's the Binance theory?
I mean, yeah, Brian Brooks stepped down unexpectedly.
Well, he didn't really step down. He just really went fast through the revolving door.
Yeah. Where'd he go?
I don't know. What was he? The comptroller of the currency?
The comptroller of the currency. Then he
was Coinbase legal officer, the head lawyer at Coinbase. Then he went to comptroller, and then he was head of Binance US.
Yes.
And now he's unemployed.
But he left. The conditions on which he left are pretty vague. I believe their US CEO, she quit as well unexpectedly and hasn't said anything. And they've been decreasing their withdrawal limits and increasing verification. So it seems like Binance is getting pestered by authorities. I'm not sure exactly which authorities. I think I have a good
they're running a whole shitcoin chain now too. They're like, they're really deep.
Oh, it got hacked this week too. It was part of that big hack, right?
I don't think so.
I think it was.
It's so funny when these things get hacked, by the way. Like I didn't know it existed until it got hacked. They're like, oh, largest hack ever. And the hackers supposedly returned most of the funds. But I think,
dear hacker,
I'm not gonna.
The memes that came out of that one. He's like sending messages. How do I get rid of this?
It wasn't on Binance Smart Chain or whatever. They're like Ethereum competitor. I think it was
Poly or whatever it's called.
It was like I have no idea. I'm not going to talk on it, but I don't think it was Binance Smart Chain, right?
Well, that's the thing. The way all these DeFi things work, you can use like multiple assets as cloud.
They're like wrapped, and like some assets are being held on Ethereum, some assets are being held here, but they're tokens, and there's a token on a different chain, and
literally hot potato. Like throw it here, throw it here, throw it here.
And the Tether all got frozen right away.
Yeah. So Tether centralized. Matt, is Tether Tether going to be the downfall of Bitcoin?
Is Tether a free country?
Maybe they're freer than us, man.
I don't know. My dad asked me about that hack. I was like, Dad, I didn't even, know what they were before. I was like, how are you reading it? Like, how do you even know? People love the big numbers. Oh, 600 million.
Biggest DeFi hack in history.
The Dear Hacker letter is pretty funny.
Right. The Eminem riff. So good. So good. Gosh, you freaks. For any of you freaks that are relatively new.
Yeah.
Flashbacks, what was it, 2015, 2016, the DAO hack? That had to be 2015, right?
Well, to me, this is like, even it's more so than, I mean, the DAO hack is obviously a direct, probably a more direct example, but this is just not your keys, not your coins.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, if you're on a centralized chain that things can happen out from underneath you, not your coins. If you're using wrapped products or whatever, that's custodial relationship. This is classic, not your keys, not your coins. I mean, obviously a smart contract was also compromised, which is reminiscent of the DAO. But this is classic, not your keys, not your coins.
Yeah. Just
like there was a guy who I'm not gonna give him
attention,
but there was an OG who got doxxed and he lost a shit ton of money in this as well. And he was like, yeah, I lost so much Bitcoin in this. It's like, dude, you never had any Bitcoin. Like you were using wrapped whatever. Like that was never, you never had your keys. That wasn't actually Bitcoin.
These shitcoins are sirens. They're sirens trying to pull you in, trying to take your Bitcoin, rug pull you. Take our good friend Matt Odell's advice. Stay humble and stack sats.
I guess Binance Chain was involved according to Bitcoin and Books. I don't know.
Told you. They were all, yeah, it was like an orgy of shitcoins that got.
It gets so confusing.
Shitcoin, never have a shitcoin orgy. Something's going to go wrong. Somebody's going to lose $600 million. It's going to happen. It's inevitable. Did you hear Ethereum's Satoshi's vision?
I feel like such a boomer when we talk about this shit, you know?
Right. Which it's also beautiful too, because it highlights how little we care.
The Ethereum Satoshi's vision researcher guy or whatever.
Oh yeah. Oh,
how out of touch do you have to be to not realize that evoking Satoshi's vision just sounds like a complete scam?
Pretty out of touch. You have to work for consensus.
Like even if you want to do the affinity scam thing they always love to do, where it's like, oh, like ETH is Bitcoin 2.0 or something, at least call it Bitcoin 2.0. Like don't say Satoshi's vision. Like those words are forever corrupted by CSW. Like
yeah.
you can't ever use those words again and actually have any kind of credibility. Like completely out of touch.
And I think Ryan Gentry highlighted something that was very funny too. Just literally days ago, the Ethereum and DeFi community was screeching at Bitcoiners to help support them with the infrastructure bill stuff.
We're all in this together.
We're all in this together. A week later, Ethereum's
funded by the Ethereum Foundation.
Right. Right.
How funny was that Dorsey tweet?
Oh, Jack, if you're listening, brother.
He's a troll.
He's a good one too. He's a good.
What a shit poster.
What a good shit poster. Hey, and he teased integrating Lightning into Twitter today.
I mean, it wasn't really a tease.
It was an overt.
He like almost just basically said it.
Yeah, yeah. Was it? Maybe he could do it via Lightning address, which is another topic that we have on the list. What are your thoughts?
Jump into that.
Yeah, well, yeah, and let's apply it to this. So we were talking about this in a group chat on Telegram before Andre Neves was in that group. You and him were having a little back and forth. How would you describe the Lightning address and the trade-offs involved, comparing it to something like Bolt 12 specifically?
So I think that's probably improper framing. So Lightning address is this idea of a human readable text string that you can take recurring payments to.
Marty's Lightning address at tftc.io or something like that.
Or Marty at tftc.io.
Yeah.
And then people that have a compatible Lightning wallet can then pay you, and it uses LNURL. So it's basically the evolution of LNURL. It improves the flow of LNURL. So right now, LNURL, you scan a QR code or you click a text string, and it basically pings a website and then gives you a fresh invoice every time. New invoice. So you can keep paying a static invoice, a static QR code or a static text string. In this case, it maps it to what looks like an email address. So it's an easier flow. Audio wise, we can say it really easily. You know, if you want to support RHR at tftc.io. And they want it to be standardized among wallets. You need that web server component, right? Because it's literally it's pinging a website to get the invoice. So if you're going to run it at home, you have issues with exposing your IP address. You'd have to use something like IP2 Tor or something. It's the same issue that you come into if you're trying to run a BTC Pay server from a home node and you don't want to expose your IP address. So that's like the main negative trade-off, but it's strictly an improvement on LNURL. LNURL is what I've been using on Dispatch, the Dispatch QR code. In that case, where it goes is it uses LN transaction bot by Fiat Jaff. So it hits his web server, and his web server gives a QR code, and then it gives a new invoice, and then the wallet pays that invoice, and then it goes to my wallet, which is custodial, and then I drain that over time, right? So it's easier to implement it in something like a custodial wallet because of that web server component. But you can do it in a self-sovereign way as well if you either run a cloud server so you don't expose a home your home IP, or if you run it on if you run something like IP2 Tor, which is what's integrated in Raspberry Blitz, where it goes Tor to a web server and then nothing's running on the web server except a mirror to like the regular internet. So yeah, it's a massive improvement to LNURL. It's fantastic to see in that regard, and it's a very easy thing for wallets to implement now. A lot of wallets already support LNURL. Bolt 12 is like is planned to be the replacement to our existing invoices, which is Bolt 11, like the native Lightning invoices. And those don't require any additional like web server besides just like your Lightning node. They're Lightning native, reoccurring codes. They look like a Lightning invoice, but they're static. And all the negotiation happens over the Lightning network. You don't need to run a separate web server. So both are good. Options are good. I'm extremely excited about Bolt 12. But in the short term, specifically, I think, Lightning address can be very useful, specifically in the donation use case.
Agreed. I think it's very useful. Step up in UX and arguably privacy for LNURL. A nice stepping stone toward, especially if you can use your own node for it. They do have, you mentioned the bridge server, correct? So they do have.
So you can run the whole thing locally.
Yes.
Or you can do this bridge thing where you use your own node. But I guess they handle the.
So
the
bridge server is a server that allows you to receive payments at your name at yourdomain.com non-custodially. The bridge server serves as a necessary JSON and then uses RPC calls to connect to your node and fetch invoices on demand. So I guess that server.
Or you can run the full stack yourself, which is also what these services that are offering are going to do. Or you can use a custodial wallet, which is, to be quite honest, that's where I expect the majority of usage to happen. And they even make that analogy, whether intentionally or not, on the website. They're like, it's like the Gmail of Lightning.
Yeah.
And Gmail is completely custodial. Like you could run your own mail server, right? But the beauty of Gmail was that anyone could just have powerful email just in the browser. And it's like a custodial relationship, which is fine for small amounts. And you constantly drain it out.
Totally fine. And the thing that I'm really excited about this is just it highlights the integration of Bitcoin into the internet stack, specifically via the Lightning Network, like just ingratiating itself with the native internet stack that we've come to know and use over the course of our lives. And the Lightning Network is enabling us to just sort of fit into the internet stack, which is like crazy to think about, like just being able to send a Lightning payment to an email address
that's registered and connected.
Yes. So you gotta like be connected to your DNS and all that stuff, and have your DNS set up, and But outside
I
of
mean, it's definitely cool, and I could, this seems like it was a project that was spearheaded by the Zebedee team, um, and they're focused on gaming, and it makes a lot of sense to me in the gaming use case,
Mhm.
where you have a streamer or something, support me at this, at this Lightning address. And props to them for not only opening it up as a standard, so other wallets can support. They launched it with other wallets already supporting it. They didn't come up with a whole new standard. They just used LNURL, which already existed, and adapted on it. And they provide you the option to use your own node or run the whole stack yourself. So it's really good to see that. Um, I I think, yeah, I, it's great to see.
Yes. Another member of the Zebedee team is Michael Tidwell, announced it last week, but I want to say it again. He's throwing the TAB Conf, the Atlanta Bitcoin Conference down there, beginning of November. I just saw, reason it's on top of my mind, I just saw Lisa Nugent from Blockstream, who's working on Sea Lightning, announce that she's going to be down there giving some presentations. So think about that. If you're looking to go to a conference, Atlanta, early November, I believe 2nd and 3rd or 3rd and 4th. I forget exactly which dates, but.
And you're speaking, right?
I'm gonna go. I got to talk to Michael whether or not like I'll speak. I'd be happy to speak about what we're doing at Great American Mining. I can talk about what we're doing here, Tales from the Crypt, Rabbit Hole Recap, Bent, Citadel Dispatch, whatever. I just want to go hang out with Bitcoiners. Should we go to shout outs?
But I mean, before we get there, I mean, in my mind, and like I just keep getting caught off guard with different things that happen in Bitcoin. Bitcoin moves so fast. The Lightning side is super cool that everyone can just innovate without like protocol changes happening. So it moves so much faster, I feel like, than base layer Bitcoin, like the main Bitcoin protocol. But there's so much excitement around Bolt 12 right now, and I'm really uh super bullish on the Bolt 12 spec.
Are you in
And
that Telegram group?
which Telegram group?
There's like a Bolt 12 Telegram group where I haven't hopped in it yet.
No, I'm not.
Rusty tweeted about it, but apparently there's a bunch. There's so much developer interest in Bolt 12 specifically that he's spinning up a Telegram group where they can spitball ideas on.
Like, I don't know enough to know if it's actually everything they say it is, but if it's everything they say it is, it's fucking baller. Like the fact that we could just have native Lightning invoices that are static and never have to change. So you can just have it, like, even if you just have a text string, which is what Bolt 12 is, without a username, like a user readable name, like Marty at tftc.io. That's fine with me. Like, I click, follow Marty once, and then my Lightning wallet opens up and it goes into my contacts and it says Marty Bent. And then every time I want to send you money, I just click Marty Bent and I get it, I get to send you a privacy preserving payment. That is amazing. All held locally on my device. That's super exciting for the donation use case, for everyday payments, for payroll.
It's happening, freaks. It's happening slowly but surely. No, that's like Bolt 12. If it, like you said, is everything that is being marketed as, will be massive for receiving privacy, which is a pain point right now. But again, like, patience is a virtue, and patience should be exerted when thinking about like the development of Bitcoin, especially, but the Lightning Network as well. Like, it's crazy. The capacity, public capacity of the Lightning Networks on parabolic, isn't it over 100 million now? 100 million bucks.
I mean, I keep seeing the charts. They get a lot of engagement.
Yeah, it's over 100 million bucks worth of volume on the Lightning Network are locked up.
Not volume, it's public capacity.
Public capacity.
And the node count is going up too.
Yes. And
which is good to see. You don't want to just see the capacity go up.
Okay.
Right? Because if it's just the capacity going up, it could be
one player.
Like a bunch of whales just like adding a bunch. I mean, at 1 sat per byte.
But a bunch of nodes.
You could add so much Bitcoin for very little money onto the Lightning Network.
Yeah. With that being said, like you could have like an LN big where even more nodes could be the same entity.
Yeah. Exactly. And Ellen Big named his nodes Ellen Big 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and people still kept throwing around that chart as bullish of lightning capacity going up. If you were actually going to do it, you name them different things. You wouldn't name them all the same thing.
We have a comment from Al in the live stream comments. Did you guys cover the new Apple privacy thing? We did last week. We think it's bad.
Yeah, my whole dispatch this week covered it too.
Yeah, it's
my whole dispatch this week was the Apple privacy thing and then Calyx and Graphene as a replacement.
I'm going to Calyx.
Calyx is fantastic. You're gonna love it. It's the best phone I've ever had. Calyx plus a Pixel.
Yeah, I mean,
ideally Pixel 5, but 4A works too.
They're going to
depends how much you want to spend.
And it came out this week. Maybe you're referencing something else, Al. It came out this week that they're like storing iCloud and iMessage messages stored in the cloud. Like apparently
they've always had that capability.
Yeah. But it's completely fucked how they market.
When you had the backups enabled on iMessage, they're encrypted when you're sending them to each other, but when you save it in iMessage, they're not.
Yeah.
When you save it in the iCloud, it's not. Yeah. iCloud's never been encrypted.
No, it has not. As is evident by the fappening. Which,
but we did talk about it last week, kind of at length.
Yeah.
I don't really feel like talking about it, to be honest.
Neither do I. It's bad. We're going to
shout outs. Let's do shout outs.
We got one at 11:59. This is just interesting to me. 11:59 and 25 seconds on August 5th, which was exactly a week ago. So somebody sent this almost exactly at midnight on East Coast time. Fucking love you guys. Since listening to your podcast, I've started running my own Bitcoin node, mixed money on Whirlpool, and this is my first Lightning transaction. Never change. Congrats.
Bullish as fuck.
Congrats on the first Lightning transaction.
What was did he sign a name or NIM?
No NIM.
Cheers, freak. Appreciate you.
Might be never changed. That was just the last two words, but you never changed too. Keep fighting. I'm happy that this podcast has provided some value to you and you're taking the advice and running with it. Love that. Marty and Matt, the shout out is thanks for the great content you guys put out with TFTC, Citadel Dispatch, and RHR. I look forward to these podcasts each week. I have a confession to make though. I'm a prosecutor. Hey, what's up, prosecutor?
It's our spook.
We love our spooks. We just ask that our spooks take care of us when we get sent to prison. Make sure we get the good pillows, the good blankets.
We're not going to get sent to prison.
I know.
Law-abiding citizens.
I'm a prosecutor. That might make me spook, but I also value privacy and fear the loss of liberties to an ever-growing state. I have hope, though. Learning about Bitcoin and the free and open source software community has given me hope that we'll win the fight against our government's encroaching authoritarianism, inequalities caused by central bank policies, and increasing financial surveillance. Anyways, keep up the great work, gents. Thank you. And
cheers.
If you're a prosecutor, could you move to the defense side if we need a lawyer?
I mean, I'd be fine with them staying on the or she staying on the prosecution side.
Yeah. Yes.
Like a very weak case.
Matt's got
this. There you go. Right.
Yeah, Matt's thinking. Thank you. It's nice to know that we have some patriots working within the legal system in the United States, particularly.
Yeah. Cheers, freak.
Cheers to you. This one, I saw this one this morning. I've just been dreading it. Two boys, in parentheses, big, comma, handsome. Two questions. One, how's a feller without a passphrase supposed to move a bunch of Bitcoins to a wallet with a passphrase, parentheses, ideally seed words, in a privacy-preserving manner without putting all his/her coins in a big pile everyone looks at and says, hey, all those different coin join bits belong to the same feller. How? Question mark. Thanks. Two, if you've got a question like one above, kind of technical, where do you go to find an answer without sending 50 bones to a couple of hunks? It's okay. You deserve it. We don't all have Rodolfo, very sad. Every time I try the old DuckDuckGo and subsequently Google, I wind up on some normie site giving me some baby's first transaction level stuff, not targeted to a freak Bitcoin expert like myself. For example, see the link that I copy paste below. Rich Glide, Rich Puppy Magnet. I don't know if this guy's sending us a private key. I don't want to read that.
Do not read it.
I'm not reading it. I'm not going to read that. Or should we read it? Like, if we put it in there, like, could the freaks go get some?
Is it a domain or is it just a bunch of words?
It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Yeah, it's 24 words. Random words. Should we read them? Freaks, get your recover wallet.
I don't know if you should read it.
Yeah. It's 24 words. Looks like a 24-word seed phrase.
He said, what about this website here? And then he pasted a seed
phrase. For example, see the link that I copy paste below. It's 24 words.
It could just be someone trolling us.
Like, I'm trying to think if these are all BIP39 compatible.
I think Glide is. I'm hearing an echo now. I think Glide is.
Are you good now?
Yeah.
Should we read? I mean, it's in it. Like, do we have?
Okay, just read it. It's a puzzle, and I hear my echo again.
Definitely a puzzle. Okay. I don't know. That might be on your end. Okay, here we go. Rich Glide, Rich Puppy Magnet Lumber Air Visual Strategy Raise Radar Answer Kit Start Cabbage Song Chase Flat Zebra Knee Pattern Pet Drum Arm.
There we go. That's a great website he pasted there.
It's a great website. I wonder if there's any sats in there. God, I hope that wasn't like
off to the races.
I hope that wasn't an accident. Like, he was doing two things at once. Thought he was posting a link and he's just copying a private key. Oh, what do we do?
Well, too late now. We're live.
We are live. There's no turning back now. But should we answer the question? How's a feller without?
I don't even know if we answer the question now.
How's a feller without a passphrase supposed to move a bunch of Bitcoins to a wallet with a passphrase? Ideally, same seed words. Like, so like the way the passphrase, like if you set up a new wallet with seed, with the
passphrase is the 25th word
for that particular wallet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the passphrase just acts as if you have a 12-word seed, it's the 13th word. And if you have 24 words,
yeah,
25th word.
If you recover, you're not moving your coin. Like,
no. It's so the issue that people have, which I believe with his question is, you have a wallet that you set up. Let's say you set up a Trezor, right? And you have your 12 words. Trezor's 12 words, whatever. You have your 12 words, and all your funds are on there. And then you realize that having a passphrase is really nice to have. It's an improvement. You don't have to trust the device as much, and you have plausible. My dog's barking outside. You have plausible deniability because you can keep funds on the non-passphrase wallet, and then you can keep funds on the passphrase wallet. You can have infinite number of passphrases. You have almost like a second element where you need to have both the seed and the passphrase unless they brute force the passphrase. So people realize that best practice is to have a passphrase, to have that 13th word, to have that 25th word. I just filibustered my dog and she walked away. So the question is, okay, now how do I move to this new passphrased wallet? And what you have to do is you have to use a wallet that has coin control, where you can see every UTXO is different. Every UTXO is separate. So you have to use something like Electrum with your own node, or if you use something like Wasabi, because Wasabi has hardware wallet support, and you can use Wasabi. And if you don't use your own node, it's not horrible for your privacy because it has very good network level privacy. So it connects through Tor by default. What?
You use Spectre too, right?
You could use Spectre with your own node.
Mm-hmm.
So Spectre with your own node. I guess Sparrow with your own node. You can use Wasabi. You connect your hardware wallet to that. And then what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to manually send each UTXO to a new address in that new wallet. That is the wallet with the passphrase. And it's going to be a time consuming process. I don't know what to tell you. You're going to have to send each one individually, and you shouldn't send them all at the same time, because if someone sees 25 UTXOs all hit the mempool at the same exact time, then there's timing analysis. There's a cluster, but it's still better than just select all, send. You don't want to select all, send. And you don't want to use something like Trezor Suite or Ledger Live, where they don't let you, unless you, I don't know if either of them have coin control now. I think Ledger Live does. I'm not sure about Trezor Suite, but if they don't have coin control, you don't want to use them, because they're combining the UTXOs. You want to be able to pick your individual transactions.
Agreed.
Can you hear my dog?
Yeah, I can hear her.
She's just incessant. She just keeps going.
It's nice background noise. It's nice. It's yeah. I got confused with the wording of the question, the way it was phrased, but no, that's the way to do it. And to answer your second question, where to find these answers, I would go to Bitcoin Stack Exchange. I may not have all the answers, but that's always been one of my favorite places to get like nitty-gritty questions like this answered. Somebody has likely had a similar question at some point in the past, and everybody who's working on Bitcoin Stack Exchange to answer these questions does a pretty good job of articulately answering them and doing it in a timely manner. So if your question isn't answered and you have something similar and you're on Bitcoin Stack Exchange, I would ask it there. You can ask it here as well, but you don't have to pay $50 worth of sats, and I bet it would get answered in a timely manner. But yes, be wary of coin control. I mentioned this a couple of months ago. Be patient when you're moving coins and using coin control. I got impatient a couple months ago and I wasn't paying attention, and I was moving some UTXOs, a good amount of UTXOs, and got lazy and didn't pay attention and combined all, not all of them, but a few of the remaining UTXOs that I have of the movement I was doing that day at once, and just completely borked the separation of those UTXOs. So be patient, double check everything, triple check. And yeah, if you're doing this with a wallet with a passphrase behind it and you're not recovering from seed and the passphrase, you're gonna have to move them one UTXO at a time. And like Matt said, make sure you time those out. And is TX broadcast still out? Is that still viable? You here? There you are.
Oh, I was hardware muted. From 6102?
Yeah.
Yeah. That is an option. That's for more technical people that don't just paste their seed into your
Do a shout out.
I think you just manually do it over time by UTXO selection. Other good places to ask questions are, we have two Sphinx tribes. We have a TFTC one and a Citadel Dispatch one. They're very active. You can ask questions there. Bitcoin Q&A has a great matrix chat, which you can find on his site, I think bitcoiner.guide. I have a bunch of resources up at citadeldispatch.com/help. Ton of resources listed there. And you can reach out to me and Marty. I don't know the best way to reach Marty, but if you hit me up on Telegram or Keybase, I'm very responsive. This is a good time to say I apologize to all the freaks that have tried to message me on Twitter DMs. The interface is horrible. It's completely overrun. I've abandoned ship. I'm not responding there anymore. It's just not going to happen. I can't search. There's no real search feature. I can only search for the actual username. Completely useless search. So Twitter DMs could have been a powerful platform, but it's completely fucked, overrun, abandoned ship. Keybase, Telegram, Threema, hit me up. Happy to answer your questions. And then Ministry of Nodes, our boy Catan does one-on-one consulting. You asked for not paying, but if you want to pay someone who knows his shit, he'll walk you through whatever the fuck you want to walk through.
Catan is a worthy departure of Cuckbucks to learn about this stuff. And I'm still available on Twitter, Telegram as well. Same Matt, but I will warn, both are pretty overrun at the moment as well. I try to get to as many as possible, but it's not as easy. There's a lot. There's a lot.
The coin control inspector in Sparrow is fantastic. It defaults to coin control, which is nice.
Yes.
So I recommend, if you're not already using one of those with your own node, you should consider it.
Consider it.
Did anyone successfully sweep that seed?
I don't think so. It's empty. I saw one comment, it's empty, one comment, it's invalid. So maybe it was a wild goose chase that ended in nothing.
You know what's the worst part about Twitter DMs? The worst part about Twitter DMs is when you follow someone and they notify you of a DM because you followed them, and it's from like a year ago, a year and a half ago, or whatever. And I always respond to those because it notifies you at the time. I was like, did you figure this one out?
Sorry, I didn't respond to you. Sorry. All right, here we go. Software updates. You freaks ready? There's been a bunch.
Okay, dog's gone now.
Phoenix version 1.4.15 has been released. If you're running a Phoenix wallet, consider updating. Spectre, just talking about it, version 1.5.1 has been released. Anything big there? They've got desktop, GUI, Node on Linux. You need to set up your UDEV rules. Node on Mac OS. The current build supports only Mac OS Catalina 10.15 or higher. That's probably important. So if you're running Spectre on Mac OS Catalina 10.15 or higher. Trezor Suite version 21.8.1 has been released, now in Spanish. I'm just reading the link. Ahora en español. BTC Pay Server, pretty big update here. I saw you tweeting about it earlier. Version 1.2.0 has been released. Pay to endpoint native, PayJoy native. Is that correct? Native out of the box? You still dealing with your dog?
I'm just like muted in a million different places. Yeah. It's PayJoy native if you use the built-in wallet.
Oh yeah.
So a PayJoy by default, why did I say native? PayJoy by default. If you use the hot wallet, which you had to use anyway if you were going to do PayJoy. Because you can use it with a hardware wallet, but if you use it with a hardware wallet, you're uploading your XPub. They don't actually have signing privileges, so they can't do a PayJoy. A PayJoy is a collaborative transaction. So you need to have a hot device so you can actually sign. So it's great to see. And to the freaks that don't remember what PayJoy is a transaction where the receiver provides an input. So you have in a Bitcoin transaction, you have the input side and you have the output side. And a simple Bitcoin send looks like one input and two outputs. One output's going to the receiver and one output's your change. Unless you send the full amount, then it's one input, one output. Or if you don't have enough in a single input, then you might have two inputs and then two outputs, the payment and the change. With PayJoy, it looks like one of those transactions where you have two inputs or three inputs and two outputs, one change, one the payment. But in actuality, one of the input sides is actually the receiver providing a UTXO. So it breaks the common input ownership heuristic where you can't assume that all inputs are owned by the same person, which is historically one of the main tools that chain surveillance firms use, because tracking Bitcoin's a probability game. You're basically constantly, if you're tracking Bitcoin, they have algorithms that do it, but the idea is you're looking at transactions and you're deciding when you think ownership has changed hands, when Marty sends Matt something versus Marty sending Marty something, or Marty sending it to his new passphrased wallet. There you go.
Yes. I like the phrase "make every spend a coin join," which PayJoy and PDEP enables. That should be something that becomes more. I would like to see become more common. Doesn't need to. Maybe others disagree, but I think we should strive to make every spend a coin join.
Yeah, I think making every spend a coin join is similar to saying no KYC only. Like it's a dream, but we want as much as possible.
Exactly.
And PayJoin's part of that. And I think I also really like the idea of like simulated coin joins where you're adding an extra input and you're matching outputs just to fuck around with chain surveillance, even though it's all from the same person.
Fuck with chain surveillance as much as possible.
Fuck with their heuristics.
Bork them. I think we'll be able to bork them completely at some point in the future. Don't depend on it though. Make it happen. It's one of Matt's pet peeves. Is hey, Bitcoin's privacy is subpar now, but magic wand.
Well, we'll just be cucks for now, and then we'll get our freedom in the future. We don't have to do anything because everyone who's gotten freedom in the future just sat by and just did fucking nothing.
Yeah, it's gonna happen. It's gonna come, freaks. It's gonna come. Speaking of acquiring Bitcoin in a more sovereign fashion, our friend of the show, or friend of Citadel Dispatch specifically, Econo Alchemist, has written an article for Bitcoin Magazine, why and how you can mine Bitcoin at home. Obviously, he's one of the, I would say, most vocal supporters of at-home mining, and somebody who's been doing it himself and has created incredible tutorials on how to set up your own mining operation at home and how to do it in a way that reduces sound and increases hash rate, which is incredible. And got to give a shout out to Econo Alchemist. He had an incredible picture of him and his son on the roof. What was the caption of that picture? Do you remember?
They're setting up it's not can you let us, it's can you stop us or something.
Yes,
like that.
yes, yeah. Very.
They were setting up a Blockstream satellite.
Yeah, it was very inspiring.
It was super, super inspiring. I love that dude. He's a good dude. He's become a friend.
I can't wait to set up nodes with my son. That's a goal of mine at some point. What age? Maybe this is something we can ask the troll box, the troll room here on the live stream. Is at what age should I begin to teach my son how to use?
Before he can walk.
Well, it's too late. That already happened. What's plan 2? He's starting to talk now.
I don't know. Like,
should his first words be like a 12-word seed phrase that he just has memorized? 7. I like 7. Free men don't ask permission. They
5.
do. They know what's right. We're getting 5. In the womb.
Are you reading Eco's tweet?
I can pull it up. I'll pull it up.
Oh no, you were reading the chat. Marty, remember when you used to lecture me for reading the chat?
No, things have changed, man.
Things have changed.
You normalized it too much. You know what? I had to jump in with you. It's unfortunate, but
it's not unfortunate.
I love it.
Ride or die freaks. Let's go.
I love it. Speaking of our ride or die freaks, we're having them on top of mine. I'm going to pop another Coronita. What else do we got here? Software updates still?
I think you just indoctrinate the kid from as early as possible and just never stop.
Oh, that's happening.
Right? Like that's the strategy.
Yeah. Kids
you were talking earlier about so the Asics, the price is fucking through the roof again.
Yeah, you're right. More short-lived? It was
very short-lived.
Very short-lived.
I think when I had Eco on for Dispatch's home mining episode, I want to chart that against ASIC prices. I think I might have hit the nail on the head on that one.
You're the bottom signal.
But a lot of plebs. I have so many freaks reach out who got rigs. Bullish as fuck.
They're happy. A lot of disclaimers.
It might end some relationships because of the noise, but that disclosure was made in Dispatch that you should care about your wife and not put it in place that she wants to be in.
Yeah, and Econo Alchemist has ways to soundproof it, so go look at the tutorials.
Yeah, but you definitely still hear that shit.
Oh yeah. Gay for the stay. What's going on in the comments?
I don't know. I love the freaks. They're special.
Yeah.
In all caps, gay for the stay.
Speaking of mining ASIC prices, stop saying like trying to avoid those and be more articulate and
lost cause, Marty.
It's not a lost cause, Matt. It's not a lost cause. Speaking of ASIC pricing, I've said this a lot on the podcast in the past, but ASIC pricing is very reflexive to the price of Bitcoin. So I think this recent spike we've seen at Great American Mining too over the last week is a product of the price going up quickly. It'll be interesting to see how the ASIC market reacts if we do a continued consolidation pattern in the mid 40s over a week or 2 or 3. Will that price per terahash drop or stay static? If it stays,
and you have the difficulty adjustment too.
That as well. Yeah.
But I think it comes down to the fact that we have an everything shortage right now.
That's true.
Right? We have an everything shortage. We already had a miner shortage before the Chinese mining ban. And then I think people just overreacted, right? They thought more miners, like more hardware was going to flood the market. And I think there was like a certain amount of Chinese hardware that was just lost for good. It just was like run to its limit, not in really great condition. It was hard to ship around. And I think there was an expectation that was going to drive down prices more. But, maybe I'm wrong. I've been wrong in the past.
Well, that's the beauty of Bitcoin, the beauty of mining. You can never know. It's permissionless. You don't know what the other players are doing in other parts of the world. That's what makes Bitcoin robust and as resilient as it is. You just honestly don't know. And you're stuck in this continuous, I don't want to call it a prisoner's dilemma, but in this game theoretical situation in which you have to envision an entity you don't know on the other side of the planet making decisions. God damn it, based off real time. So it's fascinating. And do you have this on the list? The mutually
Did you just get angry at yourself for saying
Yes, I just did it 4 times too. Do you have
That's the problem with trying to not say it. You think about it more. I do not have our new Space Force freak.
Jason Lowry blew up LinkedIn. I didn't get to see it on LinkedIn because
LinkedIn.
I deleted my LinkedIn years ago. But Jason Lowry is a member of the Space Force, and he's writing a thesis paper titled Mutually Assured Preservation, in which his thesis is that nation states getting into the Bitcoin mining game specifically could lead to a more peaceful world and a world with less war, because Bitcoin's proof of work consensus mechanism and the fact that its distributed ledger tracks property ownership makes it so we don't need to go to war anymore, because wars are created because governments are trying to prove who is in consensus, who has power over the world and over scarce resources. The scarce resources in meat space cause physical conflicts.
I mean, those who have been around will remember Bitcoin, not bombs.
Yes. Gosh, that was a really good one. That was like a good sticker campaign that went on.
I think Roger Ver championed that.
Hey, Roger Ver championed a lot of good things.
Fuck Roger.
Honey Badger money.
Honey Badger money was good. It made me have a whole new respect for the honey badger. It was an animal I had never thought twice about before that.
Right. He had billboards up. It was him and Eric, I believe. Eric Voorhees. Got to give props where props are due, obviously.
But this post was really cool. I think what was cooler than the post was him just dunking on all the replies.
Right. What about Cardano? Do you think Cardano is actually Dino? He used Dino.
Decentralized and name only.
Yeah, decentralized name only, which is every shitcoin, and arguably the U.S. Democratic Republic. It's not decentralized at all. It's centralized, still obvious. But I wrote about it in the Ben yesterday. Jason's not the first person to put forth the idea that Bitcoin, particularly leveraging its proof of work consensus mechanism, could bring peace to Earth. And a couple of people that I've mentioned on this podcast before and in the newsletter before yesterday, and that had this idea before Bitcoin was even launched, before it was even an idea in Satoshi's brain, were Henry Ford and Buckminster Fuller, who believed that if the reserve currency of the world was to transition from a gold-backed currency or US dollar-backed currency into a currency backed by kilowatt hours or energy, that it would end wars and bring peace to Earth. again, because you'd have less incentive to go fight over these scarce resources. If you have energy resources and you can harness them to create hashes that produce sats, you don't have to go fight over these resources. You can all engage in a battle in the digital world, which Jason acutely highlighted in a few of his LinkedIn posts. I think we can get to a world of mutually assured preservation because the incentives of the Bitcoin network are so strong that they highly incentivize everybody to cooperate. And I believe a post that I posted either today or late last night talked about 51% attacks between nation states, and they don't even make sense because even if you do win, the loser of that attack can take their sats to the grave.
But what about wars fought over Bitcoin?
Been thinking about that too. That's like
you hit their mining sites.
Right?
You try and hack them. You hit them with ransomware.
I guess we don't
like take down their electrical grid, and you're like, okay, give us half your Bitcoin treasury, and then we'll restore your society.
I do hate it when people get into all this world peace crap and Bitcoin. We aren't smelly, disgusting hippies, for God's sakes. Win some hacks. All right, yeah, I'm not a smelly hippie. I'm smelly right now. I don't think I'm a hippie. But I do think win some hacks. We should try to be optimistic. Like, I do think it does create the conditions from which people.
It's easier to fund wars if you can print money at will.
Yes.
And it's easier to maintain hegemonical control, like being the superpower, if you have the reserve currency and you can print money at will. Yes. But there will be countries with large Bitcoin reserves that will have money to wage war still. I mean, war is something that is
a war chest, if you will.
Forever.
A war chest, if you will.
A war chest, yeah. Well, I was thinking, and I might have mentioned this on RHR. I mean, it's been 3 years. I love like historical, like the History Channel when it used to be the History Channel. Like I love like geopolitical games and civilization and all this fucking strategy and stuff.
Age of Empires.
Age of Empires was, they got to come out with a new one. I can't believe they have. Anyway, multi-sig peace treaties, where if you break the peace treaty, you lose the Bitcoin that you have.
You have Switzerland being like your collaborative custody.
Right? You could have like a 5-country peace treaty and like a 4 or 5 multi-sig. And if one country acts out of line, they lose their part.
Well, it'd have to be 3 of 5, right?
Why?
Because you think if you're going to defect in a 4 or 5, you're going to want somebody else to defect with you.
I mean, yeah, we can work, you can work out the specifics. Maybe the first multi-sig peace treaty completely fails in implementation. It's just horrible. It just gets exploited. But I'm saying like, that's a cool concept, right? Like you have a number of key signers and like, you basically just hold it over their heads. Like you will lose, you have like a security deposit for a peace treaty.
I love this. See, look, Bitcoin's optimistic. We're trying to end wars here, freaks. We're just trying to bring peace on Earth. They're trying to tell us we can't do it.
But the hash wars are coming.
Are they though? Are they?
I like the term hash wars. That's why
I do too. I do too. But I think that's something Jason was getting at. Like it's a high cost of that attack. If you fail, it's costly. Even if you succeed, the reward may not exceed the cost.
But it's not. It wouldn't just be. It wouldn't just be when we're talking like global powers, right? We're not just talking like a traditional 51% attack. Like I said earlier, right? Like you're bombing mining sites and you're doing all different sorts of warfare. We're gonna have autonomous drone swarms pretty soon. You're not even gonna know. If you have an autonomous drone swarm hit you with off-the-shelf parts, you don't even know who hit you. You don't even know if it was your enemy. Well, obviously it was a enemy, but you don't know which enemy hit you.
Well, Agreed. In that scenario, which you just laid, where you have these large nation states amassing a shit ton of hash and engaging in these types of geopolitical games, I could certainly see that being the case. But I think there also needs to be some credence paid to the balkanization trend and the states' right trend that we've seen here in the United States specifically. Like, if Bitcoin succeeds and it gives power back to the individual and individuals turn, oh, that was loud, towards their local communities more, is hash rate distributed across more borders, if you will, and those borders get reduced down to county, state level. Maybe you don't have nation states as big now. And is that distribution across those borders enough to reduce the likelihood of a hash war? Because you'd have
you
to
still might have one between Wyoming and Texas or whatever.
Well, you'd have to hope. Well, you'd have no, because like Wyoming would have to have like 51% of the network. They can't like pinpoint, and the probabilistic nature of adding.
When I think balkanized, I don't necessarily think that means war ends. I just think it means war will probably be on a smaller scale.
I agree, but I don't.
You'll still have people are always going to be fighting each other.
Yeah, it's nature. It's just nature. Nature kills, people kill, things kill. There's a hierarchy.
You know,
you can limit everything, right? Like, but I don't think the point I'm trying to make is like I don't think those wars will be fought via the Bitcoin network.
Right. I think the Bitcoin network will be the consistency.
Yeah.
Right. It's like the stable thing that just transcends everything else, which is nice to have,
Bitcoin is for enemies.
A stable open monetary network that you can rely on regardless of what the fuck happens. That's the Bitcoin value, one of the Bitcoin value props, right? Yeah. The chat just kind of made me think about it. Elon says like a lot of questionable things. The one thing he said is a lot of times what happens is like the most ridiculous outcome is the outcome that happens. And I feel like I've noticed that in my life as well.
At Murphy's Law or Cunningham's Law? Which one is that?
I don't even know. There's like all these men's names laws. The real tragedy would be if the first multi-sig peace treaty was like on Ethereum and just like the whole multi-sig got drained by a hacker.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah,
and they just like dear hacker. They like dear hacker, like you drained our multi-sig for our peace treaty. Now we're all going to war, and the hacker's just like fuck you.
I wanted you to go to war. Yeah, this Murphy's Law. Anything that can go wrong.
No, the most entertaining outcome is the most likely.
Okay, is that Cunningham's?
I don't know. That's
Musk Law.
That's what Elon tweeted out. Yeah, Murphy's Law is that anything that can go wrong will go wrong.
Yeah. McAfee's Law.
McAfee didn't kill himself.
He didn't. I don't believe he did.
We never saw a body.
Nope.
And Fluffy Pony's still in jail.
Fluffy's still in jail. Did you guys see the picture when they brought Jeffrey Epstein out and his ear like wasn't the same of like pictures the day before? I don't know.
I don't believe the ear thing.
That dude's living somewhere. He's living somewhere. He's got a lot of dirt too. Ghislaine, what's going on with Ghislaine Maxwell? We're gonna get kicked off YouTube for bringing up these names.
Hopefully. I mean, it would fulfill my prophecy that you were the reason. You know what's interesting? So I end Dispatch with different music, and they usually make me cut the music, but some artists only say that like there can't be YouTube ads on it's demonetized, right? Like you can't put ads on it, but they don't make me actually cut the music. Metallica didn't make me cut the music.
What?
Isn't that surprising? That's so not Metallica.
Was that this week? No, because it definitely.
That was 2 weeks ago. I didn't have to cut it.
They
demonetized. I don't put ads on it anyway, so it doesn't matter. But
we got DMCA'd this week, definitely. So
what, Eminem? Yeah. Eminem made me cut it.
Yeah.
It's interesting who doesn't make you cut it and who makes you cut it.
Metallica's come full circle. Maybe they got enough money from the Napster loss to throw like fuck it. We'll just let everybody take it.
It was surprised. I thought that one was I was just gonna get hit right away.
Yeah. All right, Metallica. God, take my hand.
I don't know. That was completely irrelevant. I don't, but whatever.
Now you got me like my brother-in-law is a huge Metallica fan. He's like a Metallica super fan, and so we listen to Metallica quite a bit when he's got control of the aux cord, if you will. It's a shame they did that stuff to Napster. They're a good band. I like their music. It reminds me of my childhood driving with my dad. He was in his mid-20s and he's like playing the drums on the car dashboard. Just shame that Lars and crew got all litigious with the Napster stuff. But it seems like they're not doing it on YouTube, so let's just keep the Metallica rolling.
I'm very surprised.
Speaking of Bitcoin is money for enemies, Alex Gladstein, stop. Alex Gladstein wrote his bi-weekly piece for Bitcoin Magazine, Cuba's Bitcoin Revolution. Not going to lie, I haven't read it yet. It was posted 23 hours ago, but I saw him commenting on it on Twitter. He said an interesting thing. One thing I learned through the process of writing this particular piece and interacting with the Cuban Bitcoin community is that there's a lot of what is the regime? It's not it's not Castro still, whoever it is. They're a lot of Cuban Bitcoiners are still supportive of the communist regime in the country, which was interesting.
But they're also Bitcoiners.
Yes, but again, Bitcoin's their enemies. Like, I don't think we're communist or would agree with a communist government. However, we're Bitcoiners, and there's communist Cubans who are Bitcoiners too, and Bitcoin doesn't know that communism exists. It doesn't know that we exist. It doesn't know that there's blue versus red. It doesn't know that Joe Biden's president. It doesn't know that Joe Rogan has the biggest podcast in the world. It just knows what is allowed to be sent.
Does he still?
To who? I don't know. I think he might. What a Matt. Since he went to Spotify? Who knows?
I haven't listened since he went to Spotify.
I've been listening to some of Rogan stuff recently. Actually listened to the Quentin Tarantino episode today. There was a lot of Harvey Weinstein talk in that episode. It was uncomfortable. Anything you want to add to the?
No, I haven't read it yet either. I just blindly retweeted and added to the list.
Okay, boss.
But I love everything he puts out, and I read the thread. The thread was great.
Yes, it was. That's what I read as well. Not going to focus on it. If you are interested in getting better at Lightning liquidity management, Jameson Lopp, prolific Bitcoiner, on his Cypherpunk Cogitations blog.lop.net has a Lightning liquidity management guide, lessons learned from running a routing node on the Lightning network. So he's basically passing along the knowledge that he's accrued as he's been maintaining his own Lightning nodes. And if you guys are interested in maintaining your own nodes and learning how to get better at liquidity management, potentially getting as much fees as possible, Jameson has a nice little guide out there for you guys. Anything you want to add to that?
No, it was a really good write-up.
Yeah, it really was.
Just don't there's a lot of people that are just overselling like you being able to make like a profit running a Lightning node.
You got to put a lot of money in.
Just like do it for yourself and do it for ideological reasons. And don't if you end up making a profit, so be it. Good for you. But don't go in expecting to make a sizable amount of money off of it.
Yes, at least not yet. Maybe it'll get better in the future, but right now it's not.
Especially with the fucking mempool's empty. You can like send a transaction for like 200 sats.
Ooh. Cops decided not to come after me. They had that 3 second siren and said, "Nah, not today."
The prosecutor called him off.
Called him off. So we're still trying to build a bigger case. He's spreading too much freedom. He's going to spread a bit more. We think we'll be able to nail him down because he likes freedom too much, and we don't like freedom too much here in America anymore. We like financial surveillance, central bank digital cut bucks, infrastructure bills, spending. Another thing. Beautifully poetic. Energy, obviously been a topic on this podcast, Great American Mining podcast as well. Joe Biden going hand in foot to OPEC. Please, sirs, please drill more oil so we can buy it from you. 2 years after shutting down the Keystone Pipeline shutting down Indian Point. That wasn't Biden, that was Cuomo, but and setting up for a $3.5 trillion Green New Deal bill that will move
So
it.
this is the bill that comes after the infrastructure bill, right?
Yes. So you get $1.5 trillion.
Are they calling it the Save America bill?
Yes. Save America. I'm gonna save it.
This is what I'm saying. You can't negotiate with these people. You gotta stack. You gotta hold it yourself. You gotta learn privacy best practices. You have to use your own node.
They're getting so lazy though. Infrastructure bill, omnibus infrastructure bill, Save America bill. Who wouldn't?
They've always done the Patriot Act.
Who wouldn't want to vote for that? Huh? American Care Act. You don't care for Americans? You're not a patriot? You don't want to save America? You fucking kidding me? Psychos is right. They're psychotic. And
they're mostly corrupt.
Psychotic and insane. So insane is doing something, expecting different results. They're moving us off reliable fossil.
You gotta follow the incentives. Just follow the incentives. They want to make a shit ton of money, and they're successful at making a shit ton of money. Look at Yellen. Yellen brought in $7 million worth of speaking fees over the last year.
Barack Obama was a lawyer in South Chicago, and then he got to the White House. He went to the Senate, and he went to the White House, and now he owns like a $50 million house in Martha Vineyard. That's
12 million.
12 million, whatever.
Not that matters. I don't think it matters so much.
Still 8 figures.
I'm using that to justify my Citadel.
But it's Nancy Pelosi. It's her husband. Her husband's the moneymaker. He's making all these smart trades that just seem to correlate with laws to get passed that Nancy signs. It's not luck, it's skill. It's skill. These people take these low-paying jobs. They get into very high positions in the federal government, and they leave the federal government after only making $200,000 a year, and they're deca millionaires. It's crazy.
It's just a coincidence.
Just a coincidence. They just their partners are just very good. Stop.
The most fucked up part about Yellen's speaking fees is they were mostly through Zoom.
Ugh.
She didn't even have to put on pants.
What is she telling Citibank? Like, what is she telling JP Morgan?
What did they just have her sit there on mute for like an hour on Zoom, just muted?
What is she like? Yes, it does look like inflation may run hot. It will be transitory, though. I don't agree with everything Powell's doing. As an ex-Fed chairwoman, I think this and that. There's nothing valuable that could come out of, nothing worth millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars that could come out of a 45-minute conversation with Janet Yellen. It's a tax write-off for the banks. It's literally, they get a tax write-off as they're paying her.
Yeah.
You're allowed
to bribe.
They bribe her with a tax write-off. That just hit my mind. They get a tax write-off for that, and they're fucking bribing her.
But meanwhile, they want to, like track your $10 Venmo transaction because there's too much tax fraud in Venmo.
Because you said I'm buying a Cuban sandwich. She's like, nope. You're funny.
It's insanity.
Yeah.
You can't comply with this shit. It's ridiculous.
It's a 2-tiered system. It's like so like. Janet Yellen made $22 million in speeches last year, whatever the fucking number is.
I thought it was 7.
7, whatever it is. It's high.
It's the second time you multiplied by 4, though. Yeah. I'm noticing a trend.
Honey, give me 45 minutes. I know I don't have pants on. I'm just wearing a woman blazer and I got my glasses on, but I'm here to make $700,000. My 45 minutes is worth $700,000, not my influence over.
Do you think she picks the bribe amount or they pick the bribe amount?
I think they do.
Right? Like, does she quote them? Does she like give them like, this is my bribe fee? Or does they like, come here for $700K?
They probably compete. Probably like behind the scenes competing, because that stuff only gets revealed in retrospect after like a quarterly report that has to get. Or she probably had to disclose that when she became the treasurer or the secretary.
That's how we know.
Yeah, so she becomes like. So
we're not that corrupt. We at least get the disclosures of the bribes.
Yeah, behind the scenes, the banks are just like, all right, we're gonna pay her $500,000, thinking that Goldman paid her $400,000. Like blah blah blah. Like they'll treat us better, or maybe I don't know. I don't know how the negotiations go. I would guess it's that way though. They just blindly try to bribe the hardest. It's all fucked, freaks. They don't care about you. They don't give a fuck about you. It's like they're just doing it. They're doing it in your face, and they're fucking laughing at you behind the scenes. Like, they're laughing at all of us. I'm part of the you that I'm describing here. Fuck these people. God damn it. That was it. Last topic we have, and I got beef with this topic. Bitcoin 2022, April 6th to the 9th in Miami Beach.
Why do you have beef?
It's fucking spring break. We're gonna be there, we're gonna be there with it's during spring break. That's all I'm gonna say. And even in college, I shied away from spring break. But
it'll be better temperature than June.
I agree there. Weather will be better. Spring break crowd. That's gonna be an interesting mixture. Are we gonna be going and shilling Bitcoin to the spring breakers?
I'm excited it's Miami Beach.
I am as well.
There's going to be a music festival on the last day. So there's 2 full days of there's industry day, then 2 full days of conference, and then a music festival. And I expect a lot of people so you can buy the music festival separate, but if you buy the regular conference tickets, you get automatic inclusion to the music festival. And I expect the music festival to be the normie orange pill fest. So basically exactly what you said. You just orange pill the spring breakers. They're the Zoomers. They're the future.
They are the future.
We orange pill them. And then we talk about the real things the 2 days before that.
Yeah. All of the Zoomer freaks out there, I love you. I'm a big Zoomer advocate. I love you guys. You guys are smart. Shout out to our Bitcoin Zoomers, Ben the Carman, Ben Kaufman, a lot of Ben Zoomers, Nick Can't Mine, BTC, Ization, Will Clemente.
All our fake ID freaks out there.
All of our fake ID freaks. Let us know if you need some help. I had to give my sister, it probably shouldn't be. Yeah, it's too late now. Already went half into it. I had to send my sister like $50 worth of Bitcoin when she was a freshman in college to get a fake ID that she never got sent to her and she never used. She got scammed.
She got scammed. Classic. The scammers, he made a lot of money off that.
Yeah. Angry Marty's gone to orange.
You always buy your fake IDs in person for cash. This is like a very basic thing.
I went to college in Chicago, and the ID checking in Chicago wasn't very stringent. So I had my web dev software engineer major, friend who lived a room next to me. Excuse me for the burping and the burping. He made me my fake ID. I had a main fake ID I made in my dorm room.
I've never owned one.
No? Are we not allowed to talk fake IDs here?
I would never own a fake ID.
I'm not afraid to say it. I had a fake ID.
I was thinking the other day, it's crazy that we've just normalized KYC in bars. What, you just walk in, it's just do you have your documentation?
Show me your papers. Show me your papers. If you want to get blackout drunk here, I need to see your papers.
Interesting.
You need to be this many days old.
And that was a save the children type of argument too.
Yes, it was. Save the children. Save the children. Apple's out here to save the kids. It's always the children. Gosh. I'm optimistic though. I'm optimistic. It's getting too crazy. Janet Yellen's getting speaking fees that are tax deductible to persuade Congress to write laws a certain way. She should not be included in that at all. It's getting freaks. Please go shake your normie family members, friends, whoever it may be. Be like, just wake up. Open your eyes. Look, it's right here. They do it right in front of you. You can go read what they say. You can go check the amount of money they're getting paid. You can see who they're getting paid from. You can see what they're writing after they get that money. It's right there. It's out in the open.
I both feel between over the last 2 years, a shit ton of people's eyes have been opened to how corrupt the system is how ridiculous it all is, how unfair it all is. But at the same time, it is extremely disheartening seeing how many are just still blind to what seems so obvious, and it's extremely frustrating. I had an example that I talked about on Twitter today. DEF CON, the so-called, self-described hackers conference, not only required vaccine passports in Vegas, but they outsourced it to a third-party company to check them. It's just like, what the fuck is going on? Like, that is the most ridiculous fucking thing in the world.
You can't go to that conference if you're a legit OPSEC.
If you're actually a hacker?
Yeah.
I think real hackers weren't actually going there to begin with, but
yeah, it sounds like a complete honeypot.
it's like a CIA recruitment conference. Still, like, at least, do the bare minimum.
Yeah. It's weird times, freaks. I didn't want to bring it up, but like I have to just because I feel.
Are you sure? Are you sure?
I'm sure. They want to divide. They're trying to divide. They are. And
it's working.
It is working.
It has been working and it continues to work.
And they're doing it with the vaccinated and the unvaccinated now. I know there's a lot of strong feelings on both sides, myself included. Like we said many times, I don't care either way. You've been vaccinated, unvaccinated, do what you want to do. Do not try to force anything on anybody else. And it's getting to the point, particularly here in America and all over the world, a lot of places in the world, that the media is starting to drum it up. Like there was an article in Mashable today, like it's okay to be angry at the unvaccinated.
They're like, be angry.
Yes, they're trying to divide. Like
that one was like very obvious though.
Yeah.
There was no nuance on that one.
No, like be angry at this group of people. Blame them
title
for your problems. Like divide. They are the other. Attack that. Like it's so transparently evil and disgusting, but a lot of people fall for it. I mean, I see it in my own family where I'll say in my family, there's many heated discussions about many of us who haven't gotten vaccinated yet versus our family members who are. We're being accused of being dangerous,
selfish,
and it's not fun. It's like it should not divide families. It should not divide nations. Yet it's being the mainstream media, and they're drumming. Listen, this is dangerous for our democracy. This is dangerous for our society. Get the vaccine. Get the booster. Put your mask on. Mask your kid. Pull your dick out. Walk into the gulag. Like it's just, like I wouldn't be surprised if in 6 months Fauci came out and said you had to walk around with your dick out. Like that's the only way we're gonna do it.
I'm glad you commented on that because I was gonna ask you.
Yeah, that's literally the droning of what's going on right now. In 6 months, Fauci's.
But that's what I'm saying. Like all this shit's going on, right? And like, who in their right mind expects responsible Bitcoin regulation?
Right? How do you? The emperor wears no clothes, freaks. Should we end it on that? You've been here. Yes. Okay, let's end it on that before Uncle Marty says something even more uncouth.
I love you, freaks. Enjoy your week. Just appreciate the little things. Appreciate your friends and family, and we'll see you next Thursday for another Rabbit Hole recap. Love you all.
Love all y'all. Peace and love, freaks. Hey, we're still live. For all you live streamers, don't walk around with your dick out. Okay, that's gonna get you in trouble right now.
That's a crime.
In 6 months, it might not get you in trouble.
That is legit a crime. Do not do that.
Yeah, don't do that yet.
Unless
actually no. So we'll keep this on the live stream too. What about? Did you see the video of that dude walking completely naked through New York City the other week?
Not the naked cowboy, like an actual.
No, like an actual like butt ass naked, like, and he was like walk.
Well, that's actually legal in New York now. In New York, they like make you take your papers to fucking go to dinner, but like they won't arrest a homeless person just running around naked on the street.
Yes, it's fucking
some failed state bullshit.
Right? So, should I hit the like button? Yes. We're going to give the live stream some extra content here. But today, I was in New York City today. I had to drive up. And I tweeted out, I'm sure if you guys follow me on Twitter, you saw it. But I literally saw this today where I went to a restaurant in Soho. And got breakfast with my wife and a friend. And like the masking, like so I went to the bathroom during breakfast and I saw a waiter run into the men's bathroom and just like rip his mask off, and he went in and you could tell he was just going to sit on the toilet to get fresh air.
Just to breathe in the
just on the
disgusting
toilet
bathroom.
After I took a shit. He's just like ripping his mask off and getting fresh air in an enclosed room where I just took a shit. Like that's how insane our society has gotten to.
Ridiculous. I mean, I haven't worn a mask in like 3 months.
But that in New York, that's where it's at. Like that, like this dude is getting fresh air. He's just sucking in my fucking poop juice, dude.
They ruined our city. New York is
and we're sitting there eating dinner, everybody, or eating breakfast, everybody else eating breakfast without mask on. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here?
New York won't recover for like another 10 years or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm not waiting around for that shit. And most people cheered on.
It's disgusting. Meet me in Texas. You're coming to Texas. Matt's coming to Texas, freaks.